So we've been running this promo since yesterday. We indicated that our African leaders, especially those in the sub-region, they've been shuttling between their respective countries and that of Abuja, Nigeria, in search of negotiated settlement to the crisis in Niger. But first, we want to know Liberia's understanding of what is happening in Niger.
Well, as you all know, it's no hidden secret that the presidential guard in the Nigerian army took over the constituted authority of the state, top of the constituted authority of the state, President Bazoum, and key members of his cabinet are being held. Even though they say they have released him on house arrest, and now we're hearing about charges of treason
against him.
But Liberia's position has always been and will always be, President Weah is a man of peace and democracy. Liberia, with the instruction of President Weah, have condemned the coup, as a responsible member of the Committee of the Economic Community of West African States. Have condemned the coup and called for the restoration of democratic order in that country. And that remains our position to date. The ECOWAS have been meeting, several meetings have been held, positions have come up. We support the regional bloc's decisions. And so that's where we are.
Okay. Now, we also heard, Mr. Minister, that the defense ministers in all of those countries or African countries in the bloc then contemplating using military force to restore.
It's not the defense ministers. It's the decision of the authority of heads of state of ECOWAS, of which Liberia participated through the Minister of Foreign Affairs with the mandate from His Excellency, the President of our Republic, Dr. George Weah. And so it's the decision of ECOWAS.
Okay.
We stand by that decision.
Okay, so is it that Liberia will be preparing, if at all, they will be asking for troops? Liberia will be preparing to contribute?
We have not reached that determination as a country. We have troops in Mali serving in Mali, but we have not reached that determination. Military issues are issues of high security matter. And if there is a determination of Liberia to contribute troops to the Nigerian standby force that ECOWAS is putting together, that decision will have to be made by the commander in chief, which is the president. So that determination has not been made yet. But let us say that Liberia has always asked for diplomacy to go its full length.
Okay.
We're merely concerned about a diplomatic and peaceful settlement of this matter as opposed to an outright immediate military intervention. So ECOWAS is pursuing all of that, backed by the international community, the US, France, and other countries. I'm sure the Europeans are also on board. So let's see how the diplomatic nuances go. Pressure being brought to bear on the coup leaders to relinquish power and return the country to civilian and democratic rule.
Now, you said that Liberia, joined the other country to condemn. To what extent, Mr. Minister?
Condemnation is condemnation. That we do not support, a constitutional takeover of any government. I mean, an unconstitutional takeover of any government, whether military or otherwise. Liberia stands for peace. This country itself, has gone through the rigors of a military coup, and the problem now that we have almost 30-40 years down the line as a result of that 1980 coup in our country. So if there are lessons to be learned, then people should talk to us Liberians about these kinds of things.
Surely.
So we've condemned it in uncertain terms, making our voices heard and joining the coalition of efforts to ensure that those who engage in such are not giving any credence internationally. So that is where we stand.
Now, Mr. Minister, the bloc has been making frantic effort to restore civility, to restore calm in Niger. Why is it taking the bloc that long?
I mean, obviously, the coup leaders are the ones who, to be blamed, not the leaders of ECOWAS. For the leaders of ECOWAS, they're only trying to bring reason to bear to the coup leaders in Niger and other countries like Mali and Burkina Faso. That's not the way to ascend to political power in any given country. Follow the constitutional order. And if you're a military person and you're interested in politics, the best thing to do is to remove yourself from the military and get into active politics, partisan politics, and go to the ballot box. And if your people think that you deserve to lead them, will elect you. So if the coup leaders are stalling and they have some reasons why they're stalling, these are issues of diplomacy, and I'm sure they're talking progress. The ECOWAS sent in, a second mediation team in Niger over the last few days. The authority of ECOWAS through the Nigerian president, President Tinubu, have announced that progress is being made. So let's give it some chance. Let's give it some time and see exactly what comes up in the coming days or weeks.
Now, Mr. Minister, while we are, following the happenings in Niger with the ECOWAS bloc, making interventions. Coming back home, yet people also, I'm sure you may have heard, there are some members of the opposition, now, started, beating war drums and making all sort of incendiary comments that, the process of election may not, be as peaceful as the citizens would want it. It has it claimed the attention of the government.
Certainly, it's claimed the attention of our government because that is not the path we want to take. This country has had enough of a fair share of violence, and President Weah is a man of peace. Our government remains a peaceful government. So if people are beginning to be engaged in acts or threatened the use of force or violence as a result of this political game that we're going through, then we're concerned about it. And I think it's just wrong for them to do so. We're not interested as a government interested in violence. We're not interested in war. We have done everything as a government to ensure peace and security of our people during and after the elections. So there should be no need for anybody to think about the country returning to war. What will occasion a war? What will occasion a war? What is the reasoning behind it? And somebody says if the president wins the first term, the first round victory, it is tantamount to war. Why would it be? What is the reasoning? The president is openly campaigning, and the two single most message that comes from the president is campaigning first on his record, and I dare say enviable and remarkable record and leadership of our country for the last 5.5+ years. And at the same time, he's reminding Liberians to be responsible and peaceful during the course of these electioneering periods. So there is no way anyone can think that, we are interested at the government or trying to foment violence. No, we're not interested in that.
Listening to one of the...
So those kinds of comments aren't necessary. We all have a responsibility. Government, candidates, the election referee itself, the civil society, the general public, all of us have a responsibility to ensure that peace reigns during and after the elections in our country. And so that is why the president is taking the leadership role. He's taking the leadership role in heralding that message everywhere he goes. Before he ends his speech at a rally, he talks about the need for respect for each other and to maintain the peace and campaign in a non-violent posture.
Now, Mr. Minister, listening to one of the candidates, one of the opposition politicians, in fact, he was doing an interview with journalists and making issuing threats and all of that. The government is concerned, like you just said, it has claimed the attention of the government. But are you going to sit as a government and watch people making all those sort of threats and not taking the appropriate action?
Look, the government is responsible. I often tell people we're not a cowboy adventurous leadership where once people say something, then next thing happens. Police goes to the person's house, put them in handcuff, carry them to the police station, what have you.
But people should account for what it's saying.
One of the things we have to understand is that what amounts to a threat has to be considered on a legal ramifications. Not just because you think to your house that somebody is saying something that is threatening means it's a threat under the law. There are laws here. And one has to be careful how one interact and one interprets such a law. I'm sure the police, the Ministry of Justice, the national security apparatus, all of these people are watching and listening. And if there is a need for an intervention, they will intervene in a lawful way. If there is not a need to do so, they will not do so. But we all have to be tolerant of each other's views. Sometimes the views are very distasteful, but democracy demands that we be tolerant in the exercise of our democratic rights. Sometimes the things people will say will not be, tasteful to us. But we have to take it with a pinch of salt and move forward. Fall sometimes for the sake of civility and peace. These people making these comments want the situation to degenerate so that they can blame it on the administration. We are not going to buy that bait. We're not going to buy the bait. No, that's not how no matter how tempting the bait can be, we're not going to buy the bait.
So even if some of these people together,
some of these people making noise do not even have the capacity to do anything. One of the things one has to understand is that just because Ledgerhood Rennie said there will be war here, means that there will be war. I don't have 5 cents, no capacity to do. How do we determine that? We determine that because we have intelligence sources. That's the National Security Agency here. They're intelligence officers on the ground. We monitor people from time to time to ensure that peace reigns in our country. So the government will not always tell you what the government has resources, far-reaching resources to determine people's capacity to cause problems. And if there's a need, if there is a legitimate need to call someone in to give us, reasons why they're doing so, we'll do so. But we'll not do that.
Like you said, the government will just, really sit and because you have the intelligence, even if someone is trying to threaten the peace and stability, but the ordinary man in the street, Mr. Minister, may be frightened, maybe.
That is why we are here. That is why we are here always to show people that there will be peaceful general and presidential elections here. There will be no violence. The security forces are on the alert. They're doing their work in accordance with their duty manual and professionalism. They remain vigilant. They will be professional in the exercise of their responsibility during this electioneering period. And so there is no need for anybody to panic about somebody else's comment. Because most of these people, again I repeat, most of these people talking do not even have the single capacity to kill a fly, at least to say launch a war.
Some of them were fighters.
So yes, they could be anything in the past, but they don't have the capacity to date to do anything here, as far as we are concerned. So nobody should listen to their talk about who will bring war here. Some of these people can't even buy father grumpy for the house to eat. And you talk about what? Don't wear. Talk, the children on the street talk is free. Talk are free. So sometimes we just allow people to talk.
But you have to also allay the fears of the people.
And that's what we're doing. And that is what the president continues to do. Yesterday, the president met with the United Nations special representative to Africa and the Sahel. And he's assured the international community, again, recommitting Liberian government to ensuring that peace reigns and the elections will be held in a non-violent, environment. And the government remains committed to that.
You're listening to the Super Morning Show, right to the Leo BC 99.9 and also frequencies across Liberia. Our studio guest is the Minister of Information, Ledgerhood.
Julius. And one of the things I want to say also to you is that anybody who loves Liberia, who loves the country, who means well for the people that they represent, will not beat war drums. Will not talk about war. This should be one part of our history where we should not be so proud of. Even though it has happened, it's part of our history, but we should not, pride ourselves With all you know, we are the giants of the war and we can bring war here. It's shameful when you say so. Because almost 200 plus thousand of our compatriots got killed for no reason, so to speak, who devastated our country. So there's not something to pride ourselves with. And people who mean well for Liberia will not talk about war anymore. Study war no more. We should talk about peace, peace, peace. On Friday, 2 days from now, we'll be celebrating the signing of the Accra Comprehensive Peace Accord. 20 years of unbridled peace from 2003, August 18 to 2023, August 18 on Friday.
Okay.
That is a proud and enviable record of us Liberians. Liberians resolved not to go to war no more. That regardless of our political differences, our ethnic and social cleavages, the one thing that we share in common and we reason together is that we will study war no more. So anybody who is talking and beating war drums, the Liberian people will not respect you. The Liberian people will put you aside, will isolate you, because nobody's sons, nobody's daughters are going out in the streets or in the trenches any longer to shoot gun to kill their fellow Liberians.
Okay.
We'll study war here no more.
Okay.
On Friday, we'll have it's been planned under the auspices of the Crusaders for Peace, the Kukatono Peace Group. Ambassador Judy Andy is leading that effort, along with the Ministry of Information, the Ministry of Internal Affairs, and other UN agencies and our international friends. Will celebrate 20 years of unbridled peace in our country. We should be proud of that. And President Weah is championing that. If there is one thing, if you like President Weah say, even in opposition, if there's one thing you would say, President Weah remains an epitome of peace.
Okay. Now, let me get your reaction, Mr. Minister. For the first time, I'm sure, after the Supreme Court contempt charge. I know you haven't spoken on that. Let me get your reaction to the ruling by the Supreme Court.
Well, we take it with a pinch of salt. And I say so because the courts are our courts. The Supreme Court is the highest court of the land. If the rule, you can't win in a contempt charge case. The lawyers would say, if they rule the ruled, they believe that in exercise of our statutory responsibility, we went wrong. We wronged the court. I don't agree with that.
You don't agree?
I really don't agree with that. But
so you still challenge that?
No, I don't agree. I don't agree with that. But I have a compromise with the ruling of the court. Why I don't agree is because I believe I was simply doing my work as Minister of Information.
When you said in your press, when you said in your press release that the action by the court was appalling, you say you don't agree with that, Mr. Minister? Well, you're not very strong with the word.
It's an interpretation of the court that they believe that what we put out was contentious. It brought the court to disrepute. That's the court's ruling. But to the extent of my role as Minister of Information, responsible to disseminate government's information, how then am I held responsible? The Minister of Justice, the Minister of Justice is directed the issuance of a statement that we publish.
What are your signature?
Yeah, we publish. The court said no. You should have known better as a minister not to publish a statement because the statement is against the court. It brought the court to disrepute. So the question here is, after judgments of rulings of the court, do we as Liberians not have the right to react to those rulings? How does it hamper the administration of justice? In my mind, contempt of court should be when someone tries to hamper the administration of justice in any given case. I'm not a lawyer. I'm saying maybe I'm crazy here today by saying what I'm saying. But in the exercise of people's right of free expression, they have a right. They have to. They can say what they feel about a court's ruling. Sometimes it may be distasteful to the court, but that's people's right to speak in a given democracy. And the court itself must have thick skin. Must see that the people have a right to speak. People were aggrieved. People were not happy at the ruling. And they express their views. But yet, the court said, no, in the expression of your views, you overstep your free speech limitations.
You see the court had any political motive?
No, I cannot say that. No, I wouldn't. It would be unfair to the high jurists of our country if I said so. I couldn't do that. But they are humans. Sometimes they can be vexed too. Or the way the people,
that's wrong.
the way the people talk to us, and not correct. But they're humans. So they've held us in contempt, and we take it in good strides. Even though with a pinch of salt, we've begun to comply. We've paid our fines already.
No, United States dollars each.
We paid our fine already. We've also begun the publication of our apology once every week.
Did that frighten me in a way, Mr. Minister?
It has a chilling effect on me as a Minister of Information. So if Minister X comes to me, or even the President of a republic, what if he said to me, Ledgerhood, I want a statement on so thing about, put out a statement so
reacting to the
just reacting to something else. Will the court hold me in contempt? Would I not be doing my job? So how do I exercise my statutory responsibility without being held in contempt?
But when you were
on free speech too, I think, and I think the debate should be had, not in a disrespectful manner
to the court,
or to our learned jurists, because they cited some previous rulings of the court, Binding Castle versus Republic of Liberia, Jenkins Scott, and also other cases. But I think a debate should be had here on this matter. After trial conversations, public conversations about what the ruling of the court. What can one say and what can one not say? Are the courts now subjected to people's thoughts? Are the rulings of the court not subjected to people's reaction and thoughts in a given democracy? President Biden the other day was hard on the U.S. Supreme Court for a ruling. I mean, so let's and the same thing we said. The recent former minister, the former ambassador to Liberia, Michael McCarthy, in one of his conferences, almost alluded to almost the same thing we said.
But the question I ask you, Mr. Minister, when you were appearing before the Supreme Court, when you were held in contempt, you and the Minister of Justice, did you both appear with a lawyer?
Oh yes, obviously.
So it means that your lawyer was not potent enough to overturn it.
You don't win a contempt charge against the court.
You don't
win contempt charges in legislature. You don't win contempt charges in the Supreme Court. Any court for that matter.
Why?
Because they're the judge and the jury. The same man who complain, you say you didn't want to, the same man hearing you. You think you say you right? You don't win. So you go to the court, praying the court for purge. Praying the court to let you go.
For pardon, to forgive you.
That's all you do. You don't go argue that because you argue that. You didn't
so your lawyer didn't argue at all.
But how do you argue? They already put things. They said come and show reason why you should not be held in contempt, which means they already believe that what you've done is contentious. That's why they're calling you. So you're going to argue more.
Now, so give us the estimate, Mr. Minister, of the charges. I mean, of the what they asked you to do. Writing in the newspapers for weeks, and also presenting $500 or depositing that in the courts or whatever. Call for. How much are you going to spend as a result of the way?
Usually we're spending $1,200
1,000 United States.
Yeah, 1,200 United States individually. That's what it costs us. I hope a good Samaritan out there
Can pay for you.
can pay for me, because it's biting my pocket.
Now, moving forward, Mr. Minister, will you again, if there's instruction given to you out of the
That is why I'm
Attorney
saying,
General?
and that's why I'm saying to you, this ruling has a chilling effect. What do you do and what you do not do? How does the Minister of Justice, who is the legal arm of our country, of our executive branch of government, say, look, this is our reaction as a government legally to what the court has said. Please go ahead and do a statement and publish it. And he acknowledges it and says, okay, Ledgerhood, the attributions are mine. Please sign it and publish it. And I publish it. And then you say, why? Why? They didn't check. Check with who? Check with who? But like I say, the ruling, the courts are our courts. But for the issue of free speech, it has a chilling effect. Society has a right to speak about rulings of the courts.
Okay.
People have a right to disagree and say, even though the judge say I'm guilty, or this man is free, but I don't agree with the judgment. In this case, I believe we're exercising that free expression. The court said, no, we went overboard by some of the comments made. And so it brought the court into disrepute. That's the interpretation of our high court. And we cannot do anything more than to succumb to what they have said.
You listen to the SMS, we're to the new BC 99.9 and other frequencies across Liberia. Okay, so Mr. Minister, let's come to this aspect of our interview now. The campaign has started already. His Excellency, the President, has begun campaigning throughout Montserrat. You'll be going to, I'm sure, District 1 today. First, let me ask you, as Minister of Information, what is it that the President is campaigning on as we speak?
The President is campaigning on two fundamental principles. First, his record. And like I said earlier, his enviable and remarkable record and leadership in the last 5 years of our country. Remember, Saba, in 2017, during the campaigning period, we heard all kinds of naysaying accusations about the president. Oh, he doesn't have the acumen for leadership. He cannot. The country will not. The country will revert to war if he's elected president, especially with the United Nations on the heels of withdrawing from the peacekeeping forces from Liberia. Oh, he's unable to manage. He doesn't have the wherewithal. And here we are 5 years down the line. A country that we all are proud of, that the international community is saying is making progress, has made tremendous progress. What did he take over? He didn't take over an oasis. President Salif did her part, but yet there were still challenges on the ground that the we-led administration inherited. $100 million that was being pumped into Liberia through the United Nations system to take care of the peacekeeping operations in this country left as a result of the withdrawal of the UNMIL from Liberia. 2,000 plus health workers were not covered, were no longer being covered by the international system, the EU and others who were supporting that effort. Teachers were clamoring to come on, volunteer teachers were clamoring to come on the payroll. University students were agitating for better registration process at the University of Liberia. And I can go on and name. Domestic revenue was dwindling. And yet, in the face of all of that, we had took over the administration of the country. And what it is today, the story is there to be told. Only the naysayers and the doomsdayers, so to speak, will not see the progress that this country has made under his leadership, astute leadership. He's demonstrated that he has the wherewithal. And he needs, all he is saying to Liberians, I want to continue helping you people, the ordinary people of our country, to ensure that you get the services that your government is supposed to give you. That's what he's campaigning on. His enviable record. The next thing he's saying to Liberians also that these are just contestations to elect the leadership of our country for the next 6 years. Do not let anybody fool you to revert to violence. Let's do it with peace and respect for one another, because the eyes of the world are on us. And if we did so, it will be a further demonstration of consolidating our democracy and building upon our democratic institutions. We've held elections here, midterm elections, for the senators, and we did it in flying colors. We can hold these elections again and do it without violence, and so that we signal to the rest of the world. This is the first time that we're holding elections with very little or no support coming from our international friends and partners. It's been shouldered, especially the financial aspect. It's been shouldered, financial and logistical aspects, been shouldered mainly, if not 95 to 99%, by the administration, the government on the ground. It has had some, strenuous effect on the budget, but we have to do it. We have to show that as a country, we too can pull these things off, and requires each and every one of us as Liberians to support the process. And that is the overarching message of our president as he campaigns going across the country.
Now, since the president started, Mr. Minister, I think I was trying to watch again, and I saw you in the video. There's been mammoth crowd everywhere the president went to campaign. Do you hold the optimism that that number will transform into votes for the president come October 10th?
President Weah is what the ordinary people on the street would say, and you hear them say so every day when you walk in the community. Human magnet.
Human magnet.
Human magnet. Everywhere he went or everywhere he goes, he's doing good. Man takes to the street and you see people running from all walks of life just to come and take a glance at him. He's come to do his part for Liberia. If you look at his life, from where he started as a child to where he's reached, it can only be but the glory and sanctification of our Creator. That is why he's here. He's doing his part. He will get re-elected overwhelmingly by the people of Liberia, the ordinary people of Liberia, the young people of Liberia see President Weah as an inspiration. And he is an inspiration. Look at his life. From zero to hero. From grass to grace. Not just in Liberia, everywhere he went. He was talking the other day, from Liberia to Cameroon, from Cameroon to the European shows, started off in Monaco, crowning King of Monaco. Then he went to Paris Saint-Germain in Paris, the biggest city in France, became a household name, and then on to Milan. Italy reversed him. I was in school in Europe, in the UK. When people found out that I knew George Weah personally, they started looking at me differently. Differently.
Why?
Because of the overwhelming respect for President Weah. You travel the world, the first thing they ask you, there are two Liberians known worldwide. The first question they ask you when you're from Liberia, you say, Liberia, how is George Weah? Oh, that man, great man. And they ask you too for President Sirleaf, a former president. Two notable, eminent Liberians of high international repute. It's just that, sometimes the Bible says the prophet is not respected in his own home.
Yeah, sure.
But George Weah is no small figure. He's a mega international star. Everywhere, whether we went to Israel, people running on the streets to take picture with the president, to shake his hands. When they recognize him, it's George Weah, George Weah. A kid almost, could faint with his parents when President Weah took a stroll in Jerusalem. The little kid was practically running and crying behind it just to take a glance at the president.
Can you imagine that?
Family people you walk. So who's that man? So George, oh, George Weah. George, you know, you come to Liberia, people insulting him. For what? What has he done? People will insult him. Even if you don't like his leadership, you have to insult his parents. You have to insult his wife and his family. What have they done to you? You can criticize the policy of our government. We agree. And we should have policy dialogue and differences because there are differences of opinion. No, all of us can be on the same side. But when you degenerate to that level, trying to insult a man of such high international respect, George Weah goes to President Weah, goes to ECOWAS, and all the leaders are gleaming. They're happy to be around his presence. So, you know, let's face it, we have somebody to revere in our country.
And we must revere him. Now, the president will be, he's seeking...
He didn't break the country down, Soba. He didn't break the country down. The country is on its right footing. And I'm not saying that all the international indices that come from Liberia, that talk about Liberia, the World Bank, the IMF. Our international partners continue to do business with Liberia. President Weah is recognized. He was among a select number of African leaders to visit the White House to speak with President Biden on the issue of protecting democracy around the world because our democracy is strong. This president is not asking for a third term. In fact, to the contrary, he was saying reduce the number of years we spend in office to 4 as opposed to 6, so that others can have an opportunity to come and lead and show what they've made of. Liberians on the other side of the divide politically argue to the contrary. So this is an exemplary figure of democracy.
So I want
you political president, regardless of the fact, in the face of the unwarranted and unprovoked attacks on his person and his security. Remember one of the opposition senators said he was stoned to convoy the president? Simply because some people in the community disagree with him. He said there were supporters of the president of the ruling coalition, so he was stoned to convoy the president. It was a direct threat on the life of the president. Honor Samuel Doe, honor the leadership that he didn't work with. Taylor Nkuria said it to Taylor. Different story we're talking. And you know as well as I do, yes. So we must recognize the rule of President Weah. Peace, peace, peace. He always talks about it.
Okay. Now, so, Mr. Minister, before I open the lines, I want you to, again, that cut the bars. We got the president running for, another 6-year term, and we have, a couple of candidates as well. The ambassador Joseph Imaboka, more than 40 years in government, as well as...
What is his record?
I'm coming, as well as coming with the rest of them. What stands President Weah out amongst all of them?
President Weah is towering because of his record of leadership. He just spent 6 years in office. See what he's done. See what he's done. Do I have to repeat them? 3 new hospitals for Liberia. Our students are the education system now is taking root. Our students, you just had the Minister of Education on the line telling you about the good results from WIAC. It's not just the building of schools. Our students now are doing well academically. And that's what we want for our country. The GFK now. It's a hospital that you go to, you get some quality service. The first time in the history of this country, a dialysis center in modern times is at the GFK. A trauma unit, a brand new trauma unit is at the GFK. What are you talking about? So what are we saying? Are we forgetting? We're improving the road networks. I use my community always as an example. Right next door is across from my neighborhood is the running mate of the presidential candidate of the UP, former Vice President Boakai. He knows the community he was living in before, what it used to look like. Ledgerhood Road, muddy roads. The children back there going to Kennedy High School used to put their uniforms during the rainy season in black plastic bags. When they get to the campus, they go to the water pump, wash their feet and think of the mud before they wear their uniform.
Can you imagine that?
12 years. He was vice president. You want to tell me he couldn't advocate to the Ministry of Public Works to do that road? It is President Weah who came in the first 3 months of his administration, started paving those roads. And somebody tells me, say, he doesn't deserve a second term. He doesn't deserve a second term. Look at our kids playing again. Back to the playground. Because the children never had nowhere to play. They had Super Friday. The Invincible Park is right there. That place used to be a garbage center now. President Salif closed it up at one point in time for security reasons. President Weah has restored it. A national pride for all of us. You go to the PHP community, the United Park is taking shape. It will be open, recognizing the role of all Liberians at different levels of our society, the different shades of governance during our period will be open. I understand it's being done to open next month, September. I hope that schedule is on course. Look at the different sporting facilities he's building in the very communities in which he played. Claratown, Nukutown is underway. The two-side communities has been done.
You are sounding as it all is rosy.
No, we're not saying all is rosy. What we're saying is that progress has been made. Let's recognize the tremendous progress the president has made. He's done tremendously well. The naysayers were saying he didn't have any acumen to run a state. See what he's done. See what he's done. They tempted him all over. All kinds of things they've said. They had demonstrations here. In the history of our country, when they have demonstrations, what can happen? Riot. People die. I don't know how old you were in 1979, 1980. All of these different periods in our history. People lost their lives. June 7 came and went here. What happened? Nobody. In fact, the police gave them water.
Food as well.
Another angle, January 7 came, gave them water and food. We've shown high level of political tolerance. The rule of law, we have not interfered. The executive has never interfered in the ruling of the judiciary.
Oh, yes, you will have a
long time ago, the president will be calling and saying, all that kind of thing.
But the president didn't intervene.
Yeah, we had the post-slam over Contomaco. So let's talk about the real issues of our country. Let's talk about the real. We're not saying all is rosy. We're not saying so. The president has stapled here our staple, rice. First time in 3 months, he called the first 3 months of a leader, he called the rice importers and said, look, he had a thing around 200 pounds and so. How can we work to reduce it? And they work to bring it down to $13, I think $14 or so, or 13 something. 13.50. It stayed that way for almost 4 years until quite recently the Ukrainian. Remember, we had that international exogenous factor, COVID-19. We're governing through all of these periods, and yet we're stabilizing. Our fuel product remains the lowest, still amongst the lowest in the sub-region, the petroleum product. Same with rice. That's why our neighboring countries come here to buy rice to serve their markets. 25-pound bag of rice in Sierra Leone is almost $50. Whereby it's just now around 17 something as a result of the international factors we just spoke about. So we're governing well.
So what do you envisage?
The first round landslide victory for the president.
The first round?
First round. Let me tell you something. When people go in tournament, the team that are not practicing, that don't get bring confusion. The opposition, they're not practicing because they don't get money. The players can't practice. The team not okay. They don't get good coaching.
You see that this one they are not out up to now?
So the game started and said, but they can't withdraw. You would practice.
Anything happening?
They can't withdraw. Then that's good result. But we don't play the game yet. The other team playing test matches, they're training regularly. Then you say, oh, when you go beer, then it's
Let me try to open the lines briefly. 0776 540 or better still, 0880 That's the numbers to call, and you are live on the SMS. Our guest here is the Minister of Information, Ledgerhood, Rennie. Good morning. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Summer, and good morning to CM and Ledgerhood, Rennie.
Okay.
Yeah, my name is Alvin Che. I'm calling from Soaplet, Damo Creek, Soaplet Star.
Okay.
Yes, straight to the issue. Yeah, Ledgerhood, Rennie has said it all. But let me buttress it a little bit. This president has done so much work for ordinary people. When I can remember, it came a time, one or two houses got blamed with Beach. They went there. People are living in devastating houses in Wood Beach, where having lived for 14 good years. The president went there and built everybody. So he built that a modern estate. Now good Wood Beach. The president went down South Shoe in Bon County. He did the same. People are living in mud houses. He break it down and build it in modern concrete houses. He did it in Nima County. He did it in Riverside. He did it in River G. He did it in Grenku. This person is very developmental oriented.
Okay.
Come October, we will not be late going to give person we are a worldwide victory.
Okay, you made your point. Let's take this caller. Good morning. Good morning. Yes, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Big Brother. Yeah, good morning, Big Brother Sabbath George, and let me say good morning to the Honorable Minister, the Minister of Information. Here, Lord George Gardner, and I call for the comrades of Language in Nangwe for the re-election of President. We are Clean Sweet 2023, where I serve as the Assistant National Secretary for Media and Public Relations. Let me commend the Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, I commend you this morning. All what you have flashed out concerning the law president that was voted by the masses, I must say you are 100% correct, and God bless you. And I think when President wins comes October 10, and he will win, you'll be there as our Honorable Minister of Information Ministry. One thing I want to say, look at the University of Liberia right now. No matter how many credits you can carry at the University of Liberia, 2,250 for a semester. But during the regime of Blackard and President Ellen, our former president, you carry 6 credit, you carry 9, you carry 12, 18, 20. You pay 8,000, 12,000, close to 20,000. But look at President what he did, the MOU he signed with the university. It's affordable. Even a temporary router can afford. Even a woman who in the market selling coal can afford. Even somebody who just a normal hustler can go to the nearby community to some homes and just pressure can afford to go to the University of Liberia, right?
Okay. You made your point already. Let's take another caller. Quickly, this caller is on the line. Good morning. Good morning.
So how you doing?
I'm okay, sir.
Stephen Brown, Little Whiskey.
Go right ahead.
But because if you bought was not have prepared green in Liberia. Oh, let me know what's up.
I'm good, my brother.
Okay. One thing people forget to realize about President Weah is when it is non-policy, then it is a divine sign. On the policy aspect, by the time President Weah got away in Jesse with number 9, who saw Kennedy all around, they were wearing number 9 Jesse. But President Weah was the other guy that playing Lulu. People start playing Lulu all around. These are policies. Now, what politicians need to be very careful is that number 18. Now, what the worry should be on? It's not 2023. 2023 is a few ride. 18. 3 times. Now 18. Thank you very much.
Many thanks. Let me take this caller. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Shabbat George. How are you, Chief?
I'm okay.
And good morning to the energetic and astute minister, Honorable Minister. Morning, how are you?
Good morning. I'm fine indeed.
This is Emmanuel Susia, the Deputy Spokesperson for the National Response and Defense Football Agenda for short. You know, and I love Honorable Ledgerhood Rennie, whenever he appears on the platform, he brings sensitivities and objectivities to the general platform. There was a question that you asked the minister, and the minister was very crystal. Based on what the president has done for the period of 5 years, it cut across every sector. And looking at one of the key sectors of our country, especially the young people, and 65% making up our population, where developmental initiative has been able to impact us. So that is the reason for which you see us. We are in hard spirit. We are going to all the sectors, and we are rolling our feet to go to our villages. For some of us, we are calling in our villages back home, telling the people that there is a serious need, seeing how we are developmental initiative are cut across this country.
Okay, you made your point. Let's take this caller. Good morning.
Good morning, Sabah, and good morning to Ledgerhood Rennie, my big brother, the man who I really love in this government because of the articulation.
Good morning to you. Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm E. Anshong Bapu, chairman for We Are One Ground Victory. Honorable Minister, let me say thank you for your deliberation. We let all little guys, they don't have nothing to show. They have no message to give to our people. The only worry I have now, as the chairman of We Are One Ground Victory, and I know by the grace of God, it never came to me by myself. It was God that brought the idea to us and we put together, and we are in almost 5th country now. But we have to double up to go to the various countries to our people who they call the common people, the illiterate people, because the last our brother has carried there to them, they are confused. Sometimes when you go, even as you were saying, you know that people take invisible part to be all of Liberia, not in Liberia. When you show a picture from invisible part, people ask where you took the picture that in Liberia. When you say in Liberia, in our geographic next door neighbor here, people told me that no, our line is not Liberia. I took the picture. So we need empowerment to go in the very area to educate our people and debunk those lies that this one round Pedro will come to and be a process. Thank you.
Okay. So let me also read this one. This text said it was reported in the media that they were fined $500 each. Then how come the minister is saying $1,200? Okay. So the minister respond to that. Let me take this caller. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Sabah George.
Yeah, good morning.
To our ever minister, Mr. Ledgerhood Rennie. Money is what I have let me just take you to the minister and clear them. And I have something to say to the United Party Senate, Mr. Joseph Iman Braga. The community that he lived in today, during his 12 year regime, he never carried any together into the right community. Like Mr. Rennie said, and that is true. You can make a own background investigation. And the former practice is on recording on a national radio when he went to the U.S. When I came to the country for doing the Ebola situation, when he said a scramble opportunity, although we made us laugh, but it was the truth that he was saying. Because that's money that he signed for, that when he went to the United States. He, as a vice president for the Soya and United Party VP, he signed for that labor money. So when someone is trying to do something, and when someone for this on Thursday, it was denied by our president today. And they were criticized by some officials of our party. But today, you have more added setting the peace. You have the Senate of the United Party setting the peace. Thank you for the show, Devon, and thank you for having me.
Okay. Let's take this caller quickly. This last caller before we go back to the minister. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Okay.
Morning,
yes. Good morning.
This is Thomas Ndema, and I call you from Subatan, district number 4.
Okay.
Supporter of the Unity Party. Thank you to Minister Rennie. I actually admire what he said. Minister Rennie and Dallas Ambrose-Man, our former minister, director of EFBC, actually missed a lot. But for me, with all what he said, I want to say thank you to him. But for me, personally, I own Baka's side, Joseph Baka's side, the rescue team.
Okay.
The rescue rebel from Trani.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, many thanks. Let me take this the last caller. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning, sir.
Yes, good morning. This is Norman Baba calling you from Local Country to be judging for your district. Coordinator, but we are pretty much we have been John in Local Country.
Okay.
But let me appreciate the studio guys, the minister, with whatever the government has done in Liberia, Nova and large. And then the Manchester City Germany is go and post whatever development you take in the country. So the measure has been clear. Our concern, the peaceful solution will meet people and allies so that we can succeed the election with a one-time support. Thank you so much for this money exposing the minister of giving us.
Okay, let me take this last caller. Good morning. Good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Thank you very much. My name is Hotel Crispy and I'm calling from Chicago.
Okay.
Yeah, it was in the media that the two ministers were found like USD. How can you tell you found 1,000 each?
Okay, the minister we'll talk about that. Yeah, Mr. Minister, you can.
Okay, so let me start with the last caller. It is not that I'm saying we will find 1,000. I'm saying 500 was the court asked us to put the government revenue as fine.
Okay.
$500 within 72 hours, and also publish beginning 72 hours as of the ruling on last Friday, a retraction of the statement and apology. Now, to publish in a newspaper, my brothers, they're not free. Each one of those publications cost us $150, but the people reduce it because of us we pay. We reduce it to $125.
Wow.
So every time you publish, that money you publish.
Wow.
You know, so they have to realize that's the cost associated with publication that is giving us the thing. So each paper is $600, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So so we do what we have to do. But like I say again, so but before I close the show, you can hear from the public.
Yeah, sure.
From all across Liberia, the overwhelming enthusiasm, the groundswell of local support for the president re-election. And so if people sitting down and they're not doing their campaigning and doing their homework, when the results come up the first round, declaring the president re-elected, they can jump to the heavens. The results will be the results. Because the international community has a presence of observers here to observe the process. People are on the ground already observing the campaign, observing the elections, the management and administration of the elections through the Elections Commission. There's an international presence on the ground.
Okay.
So you can just wake up from your house and say they cheat. And then you think that, the international community is going to back you. You better get up now from your rockers and do as to what you're supposed to do, or else this thing will be the late Kekurak Poto say, a volcanic eruption. But before I close, I want to say something. Last week when we issued a statement in response to the NDR or NDC presidential candidates' comments about India banning rice, and it's going to affect Liberia, and rice shortage will come. He came back and said, the journalists didn't do some work. I'm sorry, Mr. Freeman. You got this one wrong. And like most often a time, MPC, and most often a time when he makes those outlandish comments, the journalists let him go free. I don't know why. But they should be doing their homework too. Because it's incumbent upon journalists. When somebody uses your platform and says something, go and check it and come back and say, the man said this thing here. It is not right. The Indian government, even last night, I attended the ceremony marking the independence of India. And the ambassador made it clear again to everybody that the imposition of a ban on rice in India is the basmati rice.
Okay.
Not the parboiled rice that we buy in the tons and tons and tons and metric tons. So there will be no rice shortage here.
Okay.
Not today, not tomorrow, not the after tomorrow, not any time before and after the elections. So Mr. Freeman should not lie to the public. Imagine somebody trying to be president and lying like that.
I know, right?
Here you go. Did you see the international newspaper from Nigeria, the news magazine?
About 7 weeks.
It's called The News. And it's a magazine. They had the journalists on the ground here going around, doing a survey across the country. 7 reasons why we will win. That the ordinary people speaking to the people. They published a magazine. We need to read. Liberians, do not be deceived. Don't let them fool you. This country is on the right path. President George Manawea, aka Bakube, Akohi Chule, he's done it for everybody. He's made us proud. He's made Liberians proud. He made the ordinary people that he represents proud. He has not betrayed them. He will continue to do what he knows best, to lead and not let the country down.
Mr. Minister, thank you for
going out and re-elect him.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Minister, for taking time off a busy schedule to appear this morning.
Thank you, Sabo. Thank you.
That's the Minister of Information, Ledgerhood, Julius Rennie. This is just how we go home on this presentation of the Super Morning Show. Join me tomorrow morning. I'll be right here. Thanks to all of those who contributed. Our producer, Damawa, who's been behind the camera. Until tomorrow morning, listen, there's no second chance.